Maybe this was already opened.
He's still weirded out by it.
You should do another one.
Why am I doing this?
And make sure you go and you like and subscribe and check out all of his other,
It's Comedians Opening Cards, No Coffee, and I gotta be quiet because we're in the library. Because I just saw an amazing talk about 100 years of Boston comedy from Who Do I Got?
Nick Zaino.
And you are like a freelance writer for the Boston papers, and you talk about comedy and have your own radio show, kind of?
Yes, I've been writing about Boston comedy for the Boston Phoenix, the Boston Globe, a lot of other places for about 28 years. I have Boston Comedy Radio, which is an online radio station that I started about a year and a half or so ago, which includes about 2,000 tracks. The earliest goes back to maybe 1914 or 1920,
Wow.
somewhere, all the way up to albums that were released this week.
Right, but you've also interviewed like Patrice O'Neill.
Bill Burr. I got to interview George Carlin 3 times.
Oh my gosh.
I spent some wonderfully fun and strange time at Carl Reiner's house.
Oh my gosh.
Talking to him about his work.
Oh wow.
And, his early sketch stuff, and him making fun of me for having a Costanza wallet.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
So I've interviewed Lily Tomlin. Just people coming through this scene.
Right. Getting made fun of by the greats, though, is like an honor. You know, for him to make fun of you about the wallet, it's just perfect.
That came out of nowhere, because
Right.
that was also George Shapiro, who's Seinfeld's manager, was sitting on the couch.
Right.
And I didn't know why. I was sitting across from Carl Reiner. He said, "Let me see your wallet." And we're like maybe a half hour into an interview, I'm like,
Okay.
well, I'm not going to.
He's looking for a condom.
So at that particular juncture, that would have been even more awkward.
Yeah.
In the thing. But so I handed my wallet, and Shapiro, sitting on the couch, goes, "He's got a Costanza wallet." And then
No, he had to take his cut. He grabbed the lawyer or the manager.
Reiner starts going through my wallet, and he's like, "This is stupid. You got your cash in here, and you got your cards in here." And I'm like, how did this get away from me? What's going on now that like a boyhood idol of mine is now just giving me crap about my wallet?
But you're supposed to keep your cards and your money in it. What is he talking about?
No, he had a system which probably would have been better, but I'm a pack rat about keeping your money in one clip and your cards in another clip.
Right.
He talked about it in one of his memoirs, I think, at the time. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun doing this.
Right.
For 28 years.
Yeah, and now you're working on a book and stuff, and oh my gosh. So now we have my silly show. So I just have all these cards. All you do is you flip through, find a pack that interests you, open it, talk about it for as long or short as you want, sign a card for me, keep the other cards if you so desire.
Sure, yeah, there are 2 that interest me already in here, the Bill and Ted and the Dark Crystal. I have made they're bringing Skeksis back.
No one has ever opened Dark Crystal.
I would
just
love
as
to let's take a quick look.
Sure, no, of course.
To see, man, the fact that they made cards, Space 1999.
I know. They made them for like everything.
For a while. I know they're big now, but I don't know if they get this granular. Growing pains.
Well, they make like some of the popular TV shows from today have them. I of course don't. The price goes up so fast, and they make them in limited quality.
Yeah.
It's like less expensive to buy some of the older ones. Oddly.
Ren and Stimpy. Don't
Yeah,
press
the Nickelodeon pack.
Big red candy-like history eraser button. Gruesome greeting cards. All right, I'll take a look through gruesome. Well, no, if nobody's ever done Dark Crystal, I'll go.
No one has done Dark Crystal. Gruesome greeting cards. There's 3 greeting cards. They have little jokes. They're stuck together, kind of with the old blue. It's goofy.
I'm also a big horror fan. I've written some horror short stories as well. Oh, this has never been.
No, they're unopened. Yeah.
I feel bad about opening that.
That's the whole name of the game, though.
Okay.
That's what
All
makes
right.
it fun. And then you just sign one. You get to keep the others if you want them. Sometimes there's gum in there, and I don't know if there is in this one.
I don't know what.
So why did you pick this one? You love this movie, or?
I love the Dark Crystal. I think I loved the TV show that they made.
I don't think I've seen this movie.
It's
almost uncanny nature. The girl things that they are, whatever those are.
The Gelflings is what they're called.
Right.
This was all Jim Henson.
Oh, sure.
I was always a big Muppets fan. And
Who's the other guy who played Big Bird? He's a Boston guy, isn't he?
I don't know.
I can't remember, but I believe the person who was in Big Bird was a Boston guy. Maybe not a comedian per se, but you know.
I'll have to check that out. But I always loved this as a kid. I loved this movie. I loved the TV show that they canceled way too quickly a few years back.
Well, the cards are just kind of scenes from the thing, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, they had... I like the idea of stuff that was made for kids that wasn't necessarily... I mean, that's pretty frightening little... That's a Gelfling whose essence has been stolen by the Skeksis. That was the idea. They were stealing the Gelfling life force. That was the sort of...
It's not nice of them.
No. I like the idea that something that's directed at kids doesn't necessarily have to be completely sanitized. That can frighten you a little bit.
Right.
Like Time Bandits was one of my favorite movies.
Right.
And that was terrifying.
Right. Well, Grimm's fairy tales back in the day were so much, nastier or whatever the right word is, but they were darker.
Yeah.
We've sort of sanitized them over time, just like I guess some of the others.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like, depending on what the parents think.
Right.
I like the idea. Things can be a little bit scary if your kid can take it. This almost looks like, they would steal. You can see the Skeksis. You can see a bedridden Skeksi there. They would steal. It's been a while since I've seen this, so hopefully I'm not screwing it up. But they would steal the Gelfling essence in order to rejuvenate themselves, and that's a dying Skeksi there. Like I said,
that's almost like the Chrome or whatever thing about isn't there like a right-wing thing about the blood of the kid, like taking the essence, or don't they supposed to steal them? I don't know either.
There are conspiracy theories. Nothing would surprise.
Yeah, but it's almost like because I haven't seen. It's like wait, I think they just stole that from the Dark Crystal. They
might have.
It's, there's no original ideas.
Well, anything that Jim Henson
What
put
a
time
master.
into. I mean, he's where a lot of stuff. I just posted on somebody who posted a Muppets thing the other day. The Muppets is where so much started. I mean, for me as a kid, it's sometimes it's your first exposure to Richard Pryor or Steve Martin or the Muppet movie, and they're in the same movie with Bob Hope and
the Muppet Show when I was a kid was phenomenal. I loved watching that.
Yeah, it's a throwback to vaudeville, and it showed you so many different acts who were hip and cool and also old and throwback.
Right.
So I think I got a lot of appreciation for entertainment.
Right.
Starting because when I first saw the Muppet Show, I was also first starting. Not long after that is when I first saw Saturday Night Live. Like, that guy who asked Kermit if he wanted to smell the bottle cap is also the wild and crazy guy.
Right.
On this, so it was a gateway to a lot of cool stuff. So,
well, it makes sense now. You talking about that the past, the love of the old and the new. I mean, that's what you're doing with your 100 years of comedy. That's what you're doing with all of your stuff. Is that hey, there's a whole history here. Go back and look at these roots, because some of the stuff that you might think is new. At least for me, you listen to it all. You're like, oh my God, they were doing this in the 50s, and people today are doing a bit so similar. It's like, no, they did it way back then.
Rich Scheidner has a great series. He wrote a history of stand-up comedy, and he does a great TikTok and Instagram series on this. But I didn't get into this just to write about the hot new thing.
Sure.
That hot new thing came from somewhere.
Right.
And I like knowing the timeline.
Right.
I mean, because stand-up comedy as we know it now, I don't know if I should address the camera.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
But stand-up comedy as we've known it since the 50s, a very sort of specific thing, as one person with a mic talking about themselves and their own sort of personal experiences. That doesn't really start till the 50s, but it's also on a timeline of maybe the oldest entertainment we have is just talking to each other.
Sure, around the campfire.
Yeah, so things sort of come and go. We like to think that maybe storytelling comedy is newish, maybe the past 20 or 30 years or something, but it's not as if Richard Pryor wasn't doing storytelling.
Right. Sure.
It wasn't as if some older comedians weren't doing that. It wasn't.
Well, the
There's a tradition.
guy that you mentioned in the presentation tonight, and I'm blanking on his name, but it was the thing that he was just making up the facts. He just made up the story, and then he did his bit, and it was like an old thing that you played, and I'm like, well, that's so much what people do today, and they act like they're coming up with something new. Of like it's just jumbled information. He was just throwing out the stuff.
Oh,
and
Norm Crosby was
yeah,
the master of the
yes,
malaprop.
yes, and it was like, oh God, that name's not even in my lexicon, and then here he is doing stuff that I'm hearing people do today. Like you listen to like DeStefano and Giannis Papas's podcast where they're talking about history, and then half the shit is bullshit. And you're like, well, that's exactly what he was doing then.
That's what he was doing then. He was very good at it. He became known at it, but it was also, he didn't invent it really. You can go back and see English two-handers doing stuff that from like old music hall boutiques. So there's not always, but very often a precedent somewhere. It just didn't get popular. And these people, I don't know. Norm Crosby probably never heard English music hall guys doing that
right.
But he came up with
it. Sure.
Yeah, he came up with that. But there's a tie to it. I like the idea that these people may not have any idea of the existence of the other.
Sure.
But they both hit upon something that they both found funny in exactly the same way, maybe 50 years apart.
Right.
It's sort of, there's a one story I didn't really tell in here, but one of the first comedians I talk about is Eva Tangway, who was the I Don't Care girl, vaudeville performer, the queen of vaudeville. She sang the I Don't Care song.
Which you played, yes.
And I know that was one of...
I didn't care for it.
There's Kevin Meaney had his phrase, I don't care.
Yes.
And when I first started studying for this and writing this, and I heard the song, I thought for a while, I wonder if Kevin Meaney had ever heard this. And I went back and listened to Kevin Meaney's album. He only ever released one album. And at one point in one of the later tracks, like around 9 or 10, he sings like a full verse of this. I don't care
of course.
They may say. Yes, and that's the kind of thing that I love. I hope other people also enjoy that. But I'm like, yes. Well, I found a direct link between Eva Tangway and Kevin Meaney. And if I were to go out on the street right now and say that, I would probably be, I don't know, arrested, or people would walk around. I would be given a wide berth.
There are certainly people who love that fact, but you got to find them,
Yeah, all three of them. I hope that I can find them eventually.
Well, like one of the things one of the people you didn't really mention, but his name was up for the you had Greg Fitzsimmons up there.
Yeah, Greg Fitzsimmons.
And then
is great.
He's got that story about, because at the country club that he belonged to, Kevin, he worked at the country club later and did the golf thing, but Kevin Meaney worked there. So he knew Kevin Meaney when he was a kid, and Kevin Meaney would come entertain them at the table, and then later on he went out, searched them out, they became great friends and stuff. But that's like, I mean, it's not the kind of story that you were saying about the bit growing, but it's just so neat that like, oh, you met a funny person back in the day, and then because comedy is a small, knit, tight group, you run into them later and like, oh my gosh, I remember when I was, those stories are, I just love that like kind of connection.
And one generation of Boston comedians likely saw the generation before them performing.
Right.
And that inspired them. I mean, people always say, I try to get to this a little bit in the presentation, there's always the question, why are so many funny people from
Boston?
From Boston. Right. I don't know that there's a great answer to it, other than they all had to play for Boston audiences.
Right.
And Boston audiences can be tough in several different ways, including sort of both intellectually and in a salt of the earth kind of manner. The way that I try to explain it sometimes is that you might be playing at any given club, you might have a table of pipe fitters over here and a table of kids from MIT over here, and the kids from MIT want to hear fart jokes, and all the pipe fitters are reading Kierkegaard on the weekend. So if you can navigate your way through that and not lose not be humiliated.
Right,
by
right.
it.
If you can get them both to laugh, you're doing something
Yeah, if you
good.
get them both to
Yeah.
laugh and get through that with your ass.
You can-
then
you can-
then
you
you're
can go
doing
anywhere.
something- Yeah, then you can probably play any place if
Right,
you can
right.
figure out that.
Yeah, and it's a great. I mean, the scene now too. All the little places. I mean, I just do the open mics, but just all the places that are doing that are growing. And there's a group. What are they called? There's a group of Massachusetts comics that now have a little sketch show on YouTube. That a bunch of them, and it's like high production.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to get views. It takes so long to get viewership and stuff. But it's just like people are trying and starting all these little things. And that's just wonderful to watch and stuff. So I know we got to go because the library's going to close. But if you could just sign one for me, and then you
Oh,
can keep
sure.
the others if you so desire.
Is there a picture?
It doesn't. It's up to you.
I'll find the Gelfling.
It was such an informative presentation, and I mean, I can't even imagine the stuff that you have in your head because I jotted down a couple notes of different things I have to look up on YouTube, and also some comedians to look around the scene.
Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff, and there are a lot of, like you're saying, smaller, like one-night rooms and little production groups. Half of Mind Comedy is great. Men in Comedy, which is an all-femme presenting comedy troupe that makes, you sort of have to see them. They're very socially conscious, but also incredibly silly.
Right.
People,
That's
which
good.
is a
It's a good
wonderful
combo.
mix.
Right.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you need, if you want to do a social, you've got to do something to get the message across. And silliness is good, or science fiction was always a good way to do that.
They've done a bad art auction before
Right,
to
sure.
raise money for different places. Half a Mind Comedy is